Hello, and welcome to Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My name is Jason Newland, and please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of August 2026, and it's 7:23 in the morning. Yeah, it's light outside because it's summer. It's really weird because in a couple of months' time it will probably be dark out there at this time. Oh, it's crazy, isn't it? That's the only thing last year and the beginning of this year that I've really been focusing on. Not the heat, not the cold, not the wet, not the actual weather itself, but the length of the day. Who'd have thought when I was a teenager I'd been concerned about the length of the day? Blimey. But yeah. And I follow it from like all the way up to the shortest day of the year. And then I start to look forward to the days becoming longer and it getting lighter earlier and it's staying lighter longer, because I maneuver myself around the daylight hours. By that I mean I don't go out when it's dark. I don't take video out when it's dark. So I don't go out until it's light outside, and the last time I take him out is just before it gets dark. So I don't mean like dark, but you know, when it starts to get dark. The silly Billy dog's just started. It's a bit early, isn't it, for a dog to be barking? Here's a question. Are you okay for me to leave the dog barking in? Because it registers for very little on the Richter scale of my recording. You can hear it, but it's very distant. Does it affect the recording? I understand that, you know, if it was a hypnosis recording, that's a different thing, but if you're not bothered, let me know, because I'll just leave it in. Because if it wasn't for that dog, editing these recordings would be a lot easier. Ever so much easier. I'm having dreams where I'm flying more and more often. But it's not just flying, it's actually controlling it. Choosing to do it. Showing off, in fact. So when I go downstairs, I don't walk downstairs, I just float down the stairs. And when I'm going through like a supermarket or a shopping centre, I don't walk, I float through it, so that people look at me and think, wow, he's floating. Although no one's ever come up to me and said, wow, were you just floating? That's never happened in a dream. It's almost like when I'm dreaming, everybody else in the dream knows it's a dream. It's like they're in on it. they're all part of the illusion. In my last dream, I stopped a fight, which is good. There was this disagreement going on, and I stopped it. It involved a shopping trolley. Yeah, it was strange. I was sitting in, I think I was at home, but it definitely wasn't the house that I used to live in. I was on my computer, and my dad was watching television. I was on the table, again, a different house set up, so I don't know where we was living. It's like, well, it's a dream, isn't it? It's not real. And I'm worried that he's found out stuff that happens in my dreams. Something that I kind of go back to every now and then. It's like a family thing. It's nothing, well, it's probably not good, but it's nothing like horrible, just something I shouldn't have been doing. And it never happened in real life, it's just in a dream. And I'm thinking, oh, you set a camera up to film me. And there's this, both the parents go to bed early. And me and my brothers are kind of like, well, we've gone to bed early, that's weird. And I decide to wash the plates. And we're tiptoeing a bit. I say we're a little bit sort of concerned, a little bit like, I suppose, not wanting to upset anyone. And I go upstairs to my room. Again, it's not the room that I lived in when I was a kid. And on the stairs, there's a man talking about, saying, did you remember to bring me my pants? I said, what? He said, or was it socks? No, socks. Did you remember to buy me my socks? I said, oh, sorry, I forgot. And I said, it's okay, I'll go and get them in the morning or later on. And I said, I'm going to get you pink flowery ones. He laughed. And I'm in my bedroom and he's having a conversation with someone else. And he says to me, oh, don't worry about getting the socks. Someone's already got them for me. But I need to get something from the shopping centre. So suddenly I'm at the shopping centre, floating on purpose. But I can't remember what I want, what I've gone there for. But I'm very busy showing off. I want everyone to see that I can fly. I mean, there's one point where I actually did fly. But at the same time kept myself quite close to the ground, because that's where people could see me. So I didn't really get any higher than above their heads. And I don't know why. It just seemed like a bit of a pointless dream, really. I was actually thinking, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, maybe it's after talking to my friend, on the phone, and I started thinking, what is the point of worrying about things? Now, this isn't a new thing. Obviously, it's not new for anyone, I guess, but it's not new for me to think that. What's the point in worrying? But it's because I had this conversation with my friend, or someone, and we were talking about, when people say, oh, don't worry, it might never happen. Well, the things that I sometimes worry about are inevitable. So that, it may never happen, is not viable. It's not a useful statement anymore, because I'm not necessarily worrying about little stuff. But I came to the conclusion, without just regurgitating old sayings, how is worrying helping me? In what way is it helping? And there's no answer to that, because, well, there is an answer. It's not helping. How would not worrying help? Well, I'd feel more relaxed, feel peaceful, and it's not like I'm special. It's, whatever's going to happen to me happens to every single human being on the planet, and has done for millions of years, or 5,000 years, depending on what you believe. But it's still a lot of years, and it's a lot of people. So it's like, why am I worrying about stuff like that? And it's not really worried, but it's thinking about it. It's like, why am I thinking about that when I could be thinking about nice things, when I could be imagining doing some things that I enjoy, planning things to look forward to, having fun. So the last couple of days I've been thinking about that. How do I want my life to be going forward? I don't mean in the next day or even in the next few months, but I don't want to leave it too late. But what would I like to do? What kind of lifestyle would I enjoy? And I thought about it. And the answer's not new. It's not new for me, because it has been something that I've been thinking about quite a lot for quite a long time. First of all, I want to continue doing this. Just continue doing this, but I'd like to do this whilst being somewhere else. And I don't necessarily mean all the time. So I'd like to go back to Thailand. I'd like to maybe get involved in one of the Buddhist monasteries, go and meditate, and that stuff there. Maybe meet someone but definitely wake up to a sunny day most days. Definitely wake up to hearing sounds that I would never hear in this country. I don't mean screeching. I mean that's those sounds. I mean the sounds of all the tropical birds, the smell of the tropical forest, and the food. That's the one thing I've never experienced it anywhere else I've been. And I'm not well travelled, but I have been to a few places. I've never been anywhere before that smelt nice. It wasn't just the food, but the forest, all the different smells from the forest that was close by. Mixed together with the food that's being cooked. It's unlike anything I'd experienced before. And also the friendliness. How friendly most of the people that I met were. A place where if you show respect, you get respect. And you get respect until that point where you stop being respectful. Then it changes. But that's natural. So over here, it just, I'm not saying anything bad about the people that live in the UK, but it's quite a bit of a negative place to be. And that's how I've been brought up to be as well, a little bit. Not like horribly negative, just, the old song, the Life of Brian song, always look on the bright side of life, it's not a song that English people walk around singing or thinking generally. I think it's it's weird to see people in Thailand, and a lot of them, they don't have much. They're living day to day, yet they seem happy. They seem content. Some, not all of them, obviously, not all, everyone, everywhere, anywhere. It's all, but as a group, they don't seem as if they need all the stuff that in the West I've been, me and whoever else, I just talk for myself. I've been brought up wanting stuff, always wanting the new thing. The thing is, during my adult life, I've spent a lot of my adult life living day to day, like they do in sort of Thailand. A lot of the time, I've been unemployed, waiting for money to come through, living on practically nothing. Sometimes I've been homeless. So, I was miserable, absolutely miserable during those times. I didn't find any any reason to smile. But they smile. It's almost like it's a natural, the ability to smile. For me, I have to plan a smile. I have to practice it in the mirror. My natural state is not miserable. I think, you know, the old resting bee face that I think people now call it RS, resting RBS. So I can't do all of that kind of breaking things down into synonyms. Is that what it's called? We just break it down into like the first letter of each word. I can't be doing that, because if I do that too much, I forget what the actual real meaning of it is. So if I keep talking, if I keep saying RBS, 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 eventually I'll forget what it stands for. I think it's resting something. It's like CBT. I generally would use cognitive behavioural therapy because I want to remember what I'm talking about. If I just use the word CBT all the time, I'll forget that it's cognitive behavioural therapy. Maybe it's just the way my brain works, but I like to use the full words. And I've noticed that, I guess with mobile phones, text speech, and then the internet, and then like Facebook and stuff, other kind of messages, services and apps, and then like Snapchat, I suppose. I've never used it, but then TikTok and those kinds of places where people just I was going to say it's not established what the terminology they're using, but it might be established. I just don't know about it, and half the time I literally don't know what's being said. I try and decipher it, and to me that's not really what communication is. That's a different language, you know. Communication isn't talking in different languages. Communication is talking in the same language, using the same vernacular, whatever it is. Using the same terminology, the same, maybe not the same phrases, because I think they can get a bit tedious after a while. If I hear someone, if I'm listening to someone, let's say on YouTube or watching them, and they come out with something really old, like, oh, I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole, I wouldn't throw them as far as I could, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them, that's it, that's that one. I wouldn't pee on them if they're on fire, things like that. It's like, as soon as I hear stuff like that, I don't want to listen anymore. Because the creativity's gone. If they can't think up their own version of that, then it's like, well, I don't know, I think sometimes it's because some people that make YouTube videos, you know, like this, like talking, just generally, I think they call it a talking head, they'll actually write a script. And I can't imagine needing to write a script. I can imagine, like, notes. I definitely, if I was coming on here to talk about a specific thing, I would need notes to remind me to talk about the things that I'm on here to talk about. Because you may not notice about me, but sometimes I can drift in a different direction. So to keep me focused on the particular subject and to mention the various things that are important, I'd need a list. But not a script to read like, hello, how are you? Welcome to jasonnewland.com. Blah, blah, blah. No, I couldn't do that. There was a time when answer machines came into fashion, and people used to leave answer machine messages. So first of all, there was the answer machine, and it'd be like a computer voice. Hello, please leave a message after the whatever. And sometimes you were able to just put your name in, weren't you? Yes. Hello, my name is Dee, and you could just like, Juicy JJ. I'm not here at the moment. Please leave a message after the beep. Beep. And then they became a little bit more advanced, and the newer ones, it gave you the opportunity, or the owner, the opportunity to record their own full message. And the amount of people that would leave a message that sounded like a robot. Their own voice, their own message, but they sounded like a robot because they were, I suppose, affected by the original message that was on there by a robotic voice. So they felt they needed to talk like that instead of just talking normally. I knew one person that'd answer the phone. Hello, this is Stuart. Please leave your message after the tone. Like robotic like that. Like, why? Just say, hi, it's Stuart. I'm not in at the moment. Leave a message and I'll get back to you. Just like a general thing. Now, when I had an answer machine, my problem is I could never get the message on the system without it running out of space. Because breaking up what I'm saying into a small section has always been fairly difficult with me. Unless I'm in a really, really kind of not a great mood where I'm just answering with one word answers, then when I'm like that, I can make things very, very to the point. That reminds me, I don't know why it reminds me because it's got nothing to do with it really, but I'm meeting my friend today at 10 o'clock in a coffee place, and it's weird because I want to meet him. He's one of my best friends. I don't see him very often, don't speak to him very often, but every time I see him, even if it's a long period of time, it's the same as if I saw him yesterday. There's no difference. It's weird. I don't have that with many people, and because he doesn't have a life of drama, it probably doesn't seem, I don't know what I mean by that. When a few years ago, everything was drama around here. It was like non-stop drama. And if you get a year like that, it seems like a long time. A week can seem like a really long time when it's just silly things going on. Police and ambulance being called and all kinds of weird stuff. And I went through that for years living here. It pretty much came to an end about 3 years ago. So in those kind of situations, if I met someone who I hadn't seen for months, I could never catch them up with what's going on. You know, I kind of needed to see someone regularly so I could download all my stuff. But now there's practically nothing going on, which I'm not complaining about. Just a very barky dog over the fence, which sometimes it gets to me sometimes, but hey, our little dog here who is cool until he starts screaming. If someone knocks at my door or even comes into the building and he hears them, it's so high pitched. But he is a good boy. He is. He's highly strung. And I think that's just the Jack Russell way. The only thing I do really is the two things I do in a day that I kind of have to do. Well, the only thing I have to do, obviously, apart from eat, look after myself and take care of Vinny, take him out a couple of times. In this heat, he gets to go out in the morning and in the evening. Before the heat and after the heat, can't take him out midday anymore. But once the weather gets back to being kind of normalish, he'll get to go out 3 times, sometimes 4. You know, if it's, sometimes I take him out like 8, then I take him out again at 12, take him out again at maybe 3 or 4, then take him out again at about 8. So sometimes I do that depending on the weather, but I'm more likely to do 3, take him out 3 times. Especially, I mean, last year I decided I'm not going out in the dark anymore with him, because as my eyesight is not as good as it used to be, I can't see. I mean, I can't see in the dark generally, but I can't see what's around. I can see kind of movement, and I need to be able to just keep him safe. And there's a few dogs, there's a couple of like massive dogs on the estate who, well, one's not so big, but one's really big, and they both seem to want to, they lick their lips when they see Vinny. I think they think he's a rabbit or a squirrel. So I don't go out when it's dark anymore, so I don't need a torch necessarily. And there's also the thing, like when he's been to the toilet, I've got to pick it up. It's very hard to do that when it's dark, even with a torch, because as soon as he's finished, I've got to shine the torch on the area. He's pulling, so as soon as he's done, he starts pulling the lead. So really I need 3 hands. One for the bag to pick up the poo, one to hold the torch, and one to hold his rein, his lead thing. And he's very strong, considering how tiny he is. He probably weighs 10% of my body weight, if that. And he's strong. If he was my weight, he would be able to, I mean, blimey, he'd be able to just knock a house down. I don't know why I said that, because I can't knock a house down, but he'd be super strong. And I don't mean I'm super strong, but for a dog, for a little dog, I mean. But then he wouldn't be a little dog, would he? Because he'd be 10 times his size. But no, he wouldn't be 10 times his size, because he's not 10% of my size, but he is 10% of my weight, I think. I don't know. He doesn't weigh much. I mean, he can't weigh more than 10 kilos. Maybe he does. And I'm 100 plus kilos. So maybe he does weigh more than 10. Maybe he's 20 kilos. I need to weigh him, don't I? Just to get an idea. I remember saying to someone, I can't weigh him, he won't stand on the scales. And they said, well, if you pick him up and then stand on the scales, then you're going to get a rough idea about how much he weighs. I thought, okay. A couple of days later, they said, did you do the weight? And I said, yeah, you're right. I said, well, how much does he weigh then? I said, he weighs about 112 kilos. She said, no, that's not how it works. I said, that's what it was. I can show you. I can do it again. I said, no, but you've got to take off your own weight. It's those little light bulb moments, isn't it, that it makes sense when I hear someone mention it and, say it out loud. But before that, it was just another confusing moment. The thing is, even though I got this meeting with my friend, and it's only round the corner, I don't want to go out. Which is, clearly it's a problematic situation, because I don't want to go out. I don't want to, not that I don't want to see him. I just don't want to have to get ready and go out. Because I've got my little routine. Here's my routine. I wake up early. I do some internet stuff, have my breakfast, and then I listen to some music and relax and usually fall back to sleep on the sofa. Then I wake up, make a recording. Vinny flaps his ears. And then if I have time, I'll edit the recording. Then I'll take Vinny out, come back, and have my breakfast again. I have 2 breakfasts. My second breakfast is about either 9:10 or 10:10, depending. And I watch Frasier while I'm eating my breakfast, my second breakfast. Then I'll kind of relax, maybe do some internet stuff, uploading things or re-uploading things that need to be re-uploaded, or I'll work on the editing and processing of the recording that I did earlier. Because each recording, after the actual recordings of it itself, it takes roughly about 2 hours, depending. Let's say roughly 2 hours to go through the whole process of editing it, processing it, and then uploading it to the various places that I upload it. So I upload it to Spreaker, I also upload it to SoundCloud, I also upload it to my website. And that's quite time consuming to do that. And then I might listen to some music, or I might do something else. And then probably about 2 o'clock I'll have something to eat. And then about 4 or 5 I'll make a second recording. When I've done that recording, I'll take Vinny out. I get back and have something to eat. and then after eating I'll watch a bit of TV, then I'll go back and I'll finish off whatever editing or processing is required for the latest recording. And I don't go to bed until everything's completed. And as I said, it can take 2 hours, sometimes longer. If the recording needs a lot of editing, it can take a while. And also it depends on how slow the internet's moving as well. So to upload, sometimes it's fairly quick, sometimes it's really slow. Then there's the making, the editing, the title, creating an image, and then creating a new page on my website, adding the information there, then uploading the recordings to that page so that you can download all 6 versions at once, completely free. Uploading to SoundCloud so that I think it's Spotify uses my SoundCloud, and I've got 2 different SoundCloud accounts. So to make sure that Spotify is up to date. So Apple, Spotify, all the others are all up to date, all on the same wavelength, as it were. And at the end of that, it's time for bed. And I'm so pleased to have completed it, to get it done. Oh, then I share it on Facebook as well. None of that stuff. I suppose the hardest part is the editing. It's not hard, but that's probably the one that I have to perhaps give the most attention to. Well, apart from the recording as well. When it comes to the uploading, that's more of a time-consuming thing, because I have to wait while each recording is uploading. Then I have to wait while it's processed. Sometimes I have to transfer it from one computer to another, from my iPad to the storage system, and then onto my laptop. I have to do that with the website, because I can't upload the recordings directly from the iPad to my website. So I have to copy and transfer, or copy and paste the new recordings onto my hard drive, and then plug it into the laptop and upload from there onto the website. It's just the way it is. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. If it was just making recordings, which I kind of wish it was, I could just go by how I feel. If I fancy making a recording, I'll make a recording and just press upload at the end of it. That would be nice, but that's not available. There are some programs you can use, some apps, and they will edit the recording for you. But what they'll do is they'll take out gaps. But they can't listen to the recording and take out stuff that, for example, if I repeat myself. So let's say let's imagine there's a dog in the garden and it's particularly loud. I have to kind of stop, wait for the dog to stop barking, but I'd mark the recording by tapping on the microphone or making a raspberry sound, so that it marks it on the actual recording so I can see it. And then I might start back and repeat the last sentence I just said maybe not in exactly the same way, but just for continuity. So I have to listen to the recording and go through. So the more of those there are, the longer it takes, because I have to listen to before and after and make sure that I edit out the right bits. Otherwise it just wouldn't make sense. Well, it would make less sense. I'm not sure if it ever makes sense. Why do you talk about your dreams? Don't worry about it. I'm kind of interested, actually. I'm interested in dreams. The thing is with dreams, probably a little bit like real life, is I don't think any of us can share everything. There's certain aspects of dreams that are so unrealistic, and I really don't believe in wish fulfillment when it comes to dreams. Just based on the dreams I've had, no. Not at all do I wish that would be real. So no. Sometimes maybe, but generally nah. No. I think that's why sometimes those kinds of thinking or thought is not always useful. It can be very limiting. Imagine someone like Sigmund Freud, and he's got a system, and then he starts using that system for everything. And it clearly doesn't work for everything. You don't have to be a psychologist or even particularly intelligent to see that some of the stuff he came out with was a little bit silly, actually, some of it. And the more I kind of study him and what he came up with and how he came up with it and who he was influenced by, and also up-to-date methodology regarding psychological studies or whatever, have also made some of the things he came out with sound a bit silly. But then quite a lot of stuff he said was really, really amazing. So it's trying to choose. That's why I struggle with some ways of thinking, whether it's, let's say religion as an example. Never mention religion. I'll talk about Buddhism, something I know about. There's some parts of Buddhism that I just think is amazing, like phenomenally mind-blowing. But there's some parts of it that don't really fit into how I think. And because of that, I know there's only a certain level I'm ever going to be within that movement. Because to me, we don't have reincarnation in Buddhism. It's rebirth. Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? No. Well, yeah, kind of. To be fair, is the same thing, but it's not. With the rebirth, it's kind of very similar, actually. But it's based upon the kind of life that the person's led prior to leaving. And it's all mapped out, all these different realms, and how you come back if you did this or if you did that, or if you lived your life this way or that way. And the ultimate goal is really, you're going to come back. You're going to return. So if you're naughty, instead of coming back and returning into kind of a world where you can't gain any merit, so it's all about gaining merit, sort of not money but merit, so that when it comes to deciding what happens at the end, it's kind of weighed up, you know. Sort of. I'm being very simplistic because that's how I think, maybe. And the ideal situation is you don't come back. To be a non-returner means that you're going to reach enlightenment in this lifetime. You're just there. You're just on the cusp of it. But I remember saying to some of my Buddhist teachers that I really don't care about enlightenment, and I don't want to be perfect. And they didn't get it. They didn't understand it. Because I don't care about it. If you don't believe in that, you're not a Buddhist. But I don't need to believe in anything. I just doing the practices, meditating, wishing people well, you know, helping people, that in itself is a great way to live, in my opinion. Don't need all the other stuff. And that's why I used to really be in love with Jesus. This is going in a weird direction. Oh, he's talking about Jesus now. No, what I mean is, when I was a kid, it was just the kindness that I loved. I didn't care about religion, all the kind of rituals and what happens afterwards and heaven. That never interested me. It was being able to be nice and help people, healing people. That's what intrigued me. That's what interested me. None of the other stuff. I had no interest in what happened after Easter or what happened after Good Friday. I had no interest in what happened at Christmas. The only thing I was interested in is the stories where he helped people, where he was loving and kind to people, where he defended people. That's what I got out of the Bible. The kindness. And that's what I got out of Buddhism, was the kindness, the parables or the stories, the words of wisdom, just things like anger. Some of the Buddhist terms are very well known in normal language now. Things like if someone chucks a hot coal at you and you catch it, very outdated idea, isn't it? Because who uses coals? But if someone chucks a hot coal at you and you catch it and hold it in your hands, that's the same as being angry with someone, because it's going to hurt you. So someone's chucking insults at you. If you hold on to those insults, then all you're going to do is hurt yourself. So the analogy of chucking a hot coal instead of getting out of the way, which is the thing you should do, or kicking it back maybe, or batting it back if you've got a bit of wood. But to catch it, you're just going to burn your hand. Unless you're wearing really thick thermal gloves or something, then maybe you wouldn't, I don't know. But yeah, you know what I mean, basically. And that's one of those things that's in kind of common chit-chat these days. Those kinds of short stories as an illustration. And I imagine the person who said the term, you know, when arguing about who's right, who's wrong, the very first person that shouted out the sentence, even a clock, even a broken clock is right twice a day. I don't know who said it first, but they must have been so pleased with themselves. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So if you're having an argument sort of saying about who right and wrong, it's, yeah. No, I didn't hear that one probably until about 10 years ago. I still don't know where I heard it. But the first time I heard it, it was like, wow, that's true, that is. And then I just moved on with my life. It just, yeah, it's true. But will I ever use it? I don't know. So when I talk about like religious stuff, it's not in the same way as you probably hear it anywhere else, because I have zero interest in all the metaphysical stuff, the spiritual stuff. You know, people say, aren't you concerned what happens, you know, at the end and where you go? Like, no, zero interest in that. Never. Oh, but don't you want to see all the people that have gone before you, all your loved ones and all your friends? No, I don't actually. No, I'm fine. It's like, it doesn't give me any comfort. And I understand it can, so good for those that do believe that, and it gives them comfort. But it just, nothing. It doesn't have any emotional connection with me in any way. I'd love to see my nan again, but I did see her a lot. I'd love to see my little Andre again, but I was with him 24 hours a day for years. You know, I've got memories. I realise those memories might not always be there, but I've got them at the moment, and I've got film footage of Andre. I think I've only got one or two pictures of my nan, but I remember what she looks like. I don't need pictures to see someone to know what they look like, and I remember her. So, you know, if it's a case of people they're only enlightened, or they only go to heaven, or whatever, if they believe, then I won't be going anywhere, because I don't care. It's just like, this doesn't interest me. It's as interesting to me as hearing what you had for dinner last night. It's just like, I got a neighbour, and literally every time I see him, they say, "What are you having for dinner tonight?" Like, what? What am I having? What am I going to eat in 6 hours' time? What? First of all, how should I know? I'm not perhaps as organised as some people are, but like, why would you want to talk about food, about what you're going to eat? I mean, what? So yeah, I just don't have any interest in things like that. Maybe I'm the odd one out, and maybe perhaps I should be interested in what other people are eating. But I'm as interested in that as I am in their bowel movements. I just not really that. It doesn't grip me. I don't know if that's the right word to use. Oh dear. But yeah, I don't know really. It's very strange. Very strange. Perhaps I should be more interested in stuff like that, but I don't know. I do admire people that are spiritual, that have a sense of peacefulness and calmness within them, and people that really know, they feel that they know 1,000,000% exactly what's going to happen. So having that kind of belief, I guess, is powerful. It can be limiting, but it is very powerful. What a weird conversation to have. I'm all for anybody believing whatever they want to believe. It's got nothing to do with me what anyone else believes or has for dinner, or how many times they do a poo in a day. None of my business. One thing I do find kind of amusing is these demonstrations in the streets that we have in this country, in the cities, and they'll be demonstrating against something or someone or an idea or an organisation, whatever, and they're shouting and they're angry. And you look at them as a group, and there's often a lot of very elderly people there. And I wonder if someone's in their 70s, getting on to 80s, why are they spending time being angry? I don't know. Maybe it makes them feel alive, feel needed, to be part of something bigger than them. Maybe they're just happy to get out the house. I really don't want to go out. So I'm going to have a wash, get all dressed and stuff, make myself clean, wash my hair. Ooh. And be there by 10. It's now 8:31. What I might do is just take Vinny into the garden to do a wee-wee. And I don't know what kind of day it's going to be. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a bright, well, already is a bright day out there. It's very likely to be a hot day as well. So I am going to go. I suppose I should say what my belief system is. I believe that the most important thing in life, this is for me, not for anyone else, the most important thing in life is to help others. That's it. And unlike a lot of people that have kind of got religious beliefs, I don't believe that other people should think that or believe that. It's immaterial what other people believe. That's just what I believe. And I'm happy to be around anybody else with any other beliefs, because I don't care. Because I've met people pretty much of every belief there is, and I've got on alright with all of them. Because ultimately it's about the person, isn't it? Getting on with someone is more to do with their personality, I would say, than what their religious belief is. So thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.